Hey everyone, welcome back to Secret Sonics. This is Mixed Notes number 4. Today I want to talk about perfectionism. And perfectionism is a thing that I struggle with. I'm terrible at it. This is one of my big issues. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we have perfectionism and maybe some ways to get over it. I think the real reason why most of us are perfectionists, including myself, is that we're trying to protect ourselves from scrutiny so that our egos can carry on and feel like we're doing a good job and you're okay, kid, that kind of thing. And it's a real thing. And I think a lot of us that do audio professionally struggle with perfectionism because, we've listened to these records and we come from, maybe also because we're artists ourselves and we're a little bit more sensitive and all these things kind of play into it. From all the conversations I've had with people, we talk about putting in a lot of reps to get comfortable finishing things and to slowly get rid of, that need for perfectionism in all the work that we do. And so actually I picked up this book that a lot of people have been talking about and reading recently. It's Rick Rubin's new book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And former guest of the show, Arnab Ball, told me it's great. It's basically Taoism. So yeah. Or is it Taoism or is it Taoism? I don't remember. So he just kind of writes about a bunch of things in terms of perfectionism, and I totally resonated with all of it. Here, all art is a work in progress. It's helpful to see, and by the way, I'm just reading a passage here from Rick's book. All art is, and Rick, by the way, if you're listening, I would love to have you on the podcast. You're on top of my list. All art is a work in progress. It's helpful to see the piece of work we're working on as an experiment, one in which we can't predict the outcome, whatever the result. We will receive useful information that will benefit the next experiment, right? Talking about the reps. We got to just do more, and then eventually they'll get better, right? I'll carry on. If you start from the position that there is no right or wrong, no good or bad, the creativity is just free play with no rules, it's easier to submerge yourself joyfully in the process of making things. We're not playing to win, we're playing to play. And ultimately, playing is fun. Perfectionism gets in the way of fun. A more skillful goal might be to find comfort in the process, to make and put out successive works with ease. Oscar Wilde said that some things are too important to be taken seriously. Art is one of those things. I don't know about you, but this is like totally resonating with me. And we have to make it fun, right? We're not going to make great work if we're always worried about what people are thinking about it. And he goes on. This is a few pages later. Here. The imperfections you're tempted to fix might prove to be what make the work great, and sometimes not. We rarely know what makes a piece great. No one can know. The most plausible reasons are theories at best, wise beyond our comprehension. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was an architectural error, which builders further exacerbated by trying to fix. Now, hundreds of years later, it is one of the most visited buildings in the world precisely because of this mistake. In Japanese pottery, there's an artful form of repair called kintsugi. When a piece of ceramic pottery breaks, rather than trying to restore it to its original condition, the artisan extenuates the fault by using gold to fill the crack. This beautifully draws attention to where the work was broken, creating a golden vein. Instead of the flaw diminishing the work, it becomes a focal point, an area of both physical and aesthetic strength. This card also tells us the story of the piece, chronicling its past experience. So, the best things in life aren't perfect. And we don't know why something is great, but it's not really because it's perfect. And I was actually listening to a podcast from Travis Ferentz, his podcast Progressions, who, we kind of shout each other out on our podcast these days. And he interviewed Ebony Smith, who was a guest on my podcast as well, who's an incredible music producer and advocate for women in the industry. And she said on the podcast, the aim is pristine, not perfect. And I love that so much because we all want pristine recordings, but perfect is maybe soulless. It doesn't have, perfect is, there's no such thing as perfect, really, right? We're not gods. We're just humans. And humans, we're inherently flawed, and we naturally resonate with things that are flawed. But pristine, making a record sound pristine is awesome. And so, yeah, perfectionism stops us from making great art. And there's another thing that I keep coming back to also is, from all the people that I've interviewed, including Miko Gordon, who's worked on with The Smile, you want to do and then analyze later. You want to work fast and get into a flow state, and you can't get into a flow state if you're too precious at every turn. Yeah, when you're working on a record, if you're like literally analyzing, oh, is this really a good guitar tone, rather than being inspired? Like, obviously you do have to analyze, but you could get totally caught up in those things rather than moving forward and creating. And you want to really do a lot of that creation, and then you can analyze later. And the other thing that you can have to analyze later is have other people give you objective feedback. For example, having a dedicated mixing engineer or a dedicated mastering engineer to give you that kind of final quality assurance. And you can lean on them to know that your record, the product, is good enough for consumption. So that's a great way to kind of get out of your own head and get into the process. And one last thing, going back to the reps, we can only get better with reps. And if we always have self-criticism to the point where we're never releasing anything or getting anywhere, then that's not going to allow us to do the reps. You have to make and finish records and do it over and over and over to get better. And only by doing that will we put in those, by doing those reps and making things better and better and better, do we slowly get over that perfectionism, and do our actual recordings, productions, mixes actually get better over time. So anyways, let's aim to make pristine records, not perfect records, and let's aim to finish those records. And that's all I have to say about perfectionism today on Mix Notes. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You should definitely go check out Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And this is, he's not paying me to say this. I'm in the middle of reading it, and it's interesting. So go check it out, and go check out that interview with Ebony Smith on progressions. And you could also check her out on Secret Sonics. And yeah, that's it for now. Hope you guys are having a great week. Try not to get too stuck in the weeds and make music. So yeah, until next time, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Secret Sonics. If you've been digging the show, it would be awesome if you could share this episode or your favorite episode with a friend or two, and or leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcatcher of choice. That's it for now. Have a great week. Take care and dig in. See you soon. Bye-bye.